In February of 2021, I was out in Boise, Idaho, and I was in the hot tub, and like right after I got out of the hot tub, it dried off, and I went on a foot race with my cousin, and I pulled my right hamstring pretty badly, and we weren't able to go skiing, and that's the reason I went there. And I was pretty upset with myself after that, because I thought, you know, I'm somebody who takes care of myself, I work out, I eat right, I do the right things, but I think my hamstrings were too weak compared to my quads. And so I want to go through an exercise that I think is one of the best exercises you can do for your hamstrings, and that is the Nordic hamstring curl. So I'm going to show you my setup, and I'm going to show you an alternative setup that you can do at home. All you need are a couple pieces of equipment that aren't too expensive, and you should probably buy these things anyways. And one of the things I'm talking about is the resistance bands. I think resistance bands are a must-have. I mean, you can put them in your suitcase and travel with them. So if you go to like some hotel and it's just a garbage gym, you can do an exercise routine with just resistance bands. So I'll get into that setup in a little bit, but first I want to show you exactly how I got my first Nordic hamstring curl in less than 6 months. This is my setup right here. I have my squat rack, and I have this silly setup down here with some mats. So these mats, they're not necessary, but they definitely make progressing easier to do in a more incremental fashion. So I have these mats, they're about 1/2 inch thick. I have 7 back there and 7 up here, so then it's a flat surface. This kind of gets my knees off the ground. And then the other thing I have, it's supposed to go under a doorway, but I put it under my squat rack here. And the doorway is the setup that I'll show you later. The first thing you're going to need are these resistance bands. These resistance bands are great. I've been using them since before 2020, and it's 2024 now. They're from Elite FTS. I have a pair of each of these. I think this one is called a light band. The green one is the medium one. It's called a monster band. And the red one is a mini band. For demonstration purposes, I'll just say this is heavy, the green is medium, and the red is light. So for this setup, what you're going to want to do, you're going to toss the band over, and you're going to take the back loop and go through the front loop and tighten from there. And I like this method because then I have a consistent measurement on the resistance or assistance that I get from the band. So what I do is I put my arms over like this, and I keep the resistance band around my chest, and I get into my Nordic position. And what I used to do, I'll speak awkwardly from this position. I didn't have this little fancy thing that I could hook my heels under. I used to put a barbell with some plates on it back there, and then I would stick these mats under the barbell. It was uncomfortable, but it worked at the time. But this is, it's not super expensive, this little gadget here. So I'm looking through some of my notes here, and it looks like on June 2nd, that's when I officially started this Nordic curl journey. I started with a heavy band, the orange band, and I did 4 mats, but then I moved to 6 mats because that was too difficult for me. And then I would go to the medium band the next week, and then the lightest band the following week. Then the following week, I went back to the heavy band, medium band, light band. And then once I got down to, it looks like 2 mats, I just stuck with the red band, the lightest band. And once I got to the light band, I started adding weight to my chest. And I'll show you what that looked like. I needed to add weight to my chest before taking this red band away. So what I did was I bought some fractional plates. I don't know if they're called fractional plates, micro plates, or what. So I got these little plates here, and some are like 1/4 pound, 1/2 pound, what else here? 3/4 pound and a pound. But once I got to that light band, I maintained doing 5 sets of 5 once a week, and I would move up 1.25 pounds each week. And I know that's not a lot of weight at all, but it kept me progressing. I didn't stall out. I didn't hit any plateaus while I was doing this. Maybe a little bit towards the end once I was trying to add weight to my chest without the bands. But after doing that, I got up to 13.75 pounds on my chest. And after that, I finally took away the light band and I got my first Nordic on a flat surface. And then from there, I kept it pretty simple. I would just try to get 3 sets of 5 reps each, and I would add weight in that same 1.25 pound increment until I was able to get to 10 pounds and do 3 sets of 5 reps. And that was nearly a year later until I got to that point. It looks like it was April of 2022. I got my first Nordic on November 23rd of 21. So that was nearly 6 months later. Another thing to note is if you do have a rack like this, I definitely have to put some extra weight on the back here. Otherwise, when I go down to the bottom, I might lift up the back of the rack here. So nowadays, I usually put, I kind of do different things. I put 10 pounds on my chest, or sometimes I take away these mats and make it a deficit, or I'll start from the bottom and go from the bottom up with Nordics. But this is what I've been able to get to. And by no means is it perfect, but I've come a long way. Whew. All right, actually, I did these yesterday, but I wanted to make this video today. Okay, so now that I've proven myself, I'm going to show you how you can do Nordics at home without a rack. All you need is a sturdy doorway, that little device that clamps your heels down, and these resistance bands. So I'm going to show you that now. Okay, so we're over by the door now, and what you're going to need is a resistance band, and this is optional, but I definitely recommend using like a towel or something you can put behind the door to make sure that this is secure. Let me kind of try to demonstrate here. So you have the door here. I'm going to open the door, tilt my camera up so you can see what's going on here, and I'm going to go over the door like this, and I guess I'd recommend scooching it a little bit towards the hinges, so your feet are putting more pressure on the hinges just than the little doorknob deal. So what I'm going to do, so this is where the towel could come in handy, or so I'm going to put it around here, and you'd want to make sure you did this the same every time, just to, you know, make sure you are getting a consistent pressure. Okay, so now I have the door closed, and that's done. Okay, what I forgot to do is put this, so this is the device, I'll put this in the comments, the doorway Nordic heel holder, I don't know exactly what it's called. Okay, so I'm going to try to do this carefully. Open back up the door, slide this under, and obviously I'd want to line those up so they're even. I'm just going to put one mat down so I don't destroy my knees. 2 mats, and we're going to see if this works. Okay, so it seems like it works. So if you're going to try that at home, make sure you have a sturdy door. Make sure you warm up beforehand before doing Nordics. I just did Nordics once per week. I I can't recommend doing it more than that. I did do leg exercises that week on other days, like I would do, squats and other leg movements, but never Nordics more than once per week. And another thing to note is stretching. Make sure you are maintaining mobility and flexibility as you're strengthening your hamstrings. So at night or after my workout, I would definitely do some stretches for my hamstrings, such as the elephant walk. Another thing I want to say is I want to give a hat tip to the PD project. PD, I saw his video probably shortly after I did hurt my hamstring. I think he might have been the person that at least the person that I first saw use the resistance bands in order to progress with these Nordic hamstring curls. So thank you, PD. Another thing I want to say is with the rest pause sets that I did, I got that idea from PD, and I think it's a practical thing that you can do if progression slows, or just if you want to try switching it up with that method. But for me, I think it was kind of unnecessary. I tried it for a week or two. Let me see here. It looks like I did try it for 3 weeks through a heavy band, medium band, light band rotation through one rotation, and then it just it wasn't really for me, so I kind of stuck with the straight reps instead of the rest pause method. But the number one thing here is that it doesn't matter if you can do a Nordic by the end of this. It doesn't matter how long it takes you, and it doesn't even matter if you get there in the end. What matters is that you improved from where you started. And for me, yes, I'm able to do a set of 10 with 10 pounds on my chest, but where I started from was a lot different. I had an injured hamstring. I had to use my heaviest band, and I couldn't even go down all the way to the ground. And so I broke up this goal, this seemingly impossible goal, into manageable steps, really small steps, but each one of those steps was doable. It allowed my body to adapt and my mind. And over time, I got better and better, and I still do sprints nowadays, and I haven't pulled a hamstring since then. And I do think Nordic hamstrings are definitely a great exercise to add to your toolkit of exercises, and you can do them from home, and I think that makes a big difference. So if you can't get to the gym and you don't have time, you can do some Nordic hamstring curls at home. And I think it is one of the best bang for your buck exercises in terms of hamstring strength and resilience. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.